So one of the things that I think is a little, people misconstrue a little bit about real estate is people think that real estate is flexible. Real estate's just really not that flexible, to be honest with you. It's a pretty demanding career. It's a very rewarding career. I think it's great. I've been doing it a long time, but it's just really not that flexible a lot of times because you're going to be really at the beck and call a lot of times of your clients. So you got to prepare for that. If they need you, you have to be there for them. So as you're becoming a new real estate agent, think about some of the things that you're going to need. Okay. So what I hear a lot, is training. What do you hear, Matt?
Yeah, I hear the same thing because what happens is you take this 40-hour course and you take the state exam and the national exam, and then you get to your new office, wherever you get hired, and you don't know what to do because in the courses, they don't really teach you how to properly fill out the forms and how to negotiate. And even before that, just the day-to-day, Debbie, like what do you do during the day as a new agent?
Right. I mean, unless you're very structured, you could get lost real quick. So, I mean, I think we start off and everybody is different. I think people are going to say that they have training, right? Every brokerage, every team is going to say that they have training. I think when you're a new agent, you really have to look in depth of what they offer. Okay. So we have an entire curriculum that goes from, scripts when you're talking to a buyer, some of the questions you should ask, to when you meet them for the first time, how to present your value to them, what you're going to do. We actually have a package that the admin will put together for you, how to go over the buyer's agency contract with them. If they ask you questions, what forms do you need to have them sign when you sign a buyer agent up? And you really should be having a buyer's contract signed before you go out and show property. And then what happens is you're going to go out and you're going to start looking at property for these clients. And, we try to, I know it's difficult because you think about it and people have said to me, it's hard, Debbie, because when you're trying to teach them and they've never really been in this situation, so they don't understand what you're talking about. But on the flip side, if you send them out on the street with no training at all, they're going to be practicing on their clients. So that could cost their clients a lot of money. So another session we have is like you find a property for your client that you really like. How do you know if it's priced well? Okay, so it'll teach you how to do comps. How do you write up your offer? Okay, the offer contract is not in order. And if you're dealing with a multiple offer situation, it's very different than dealing with a situation where there's no competing offers again. So in every line in there, home inspection, financing, closing, purchase and sale, everything is negotiable and depending on what you're up against. And unfortunately, you don't learn any of that in class when you go to get your real estate license. So we offer that and how to be a little bit more competitive over the other agents and what to ask for the right questions. And also, you don't want your client overpaying for the property. So you've got to know what you're doing. And so we go over all those things. So I think training to an agent is a big thing. Now you mentioned, like, okay, you get your real estate license. All right, so let's say, for example, now you're not in class. What are you going to do all day?
Yeah, and that's the thing that's really hard, right? Because I started at a brokerage when they didn't have teams back then. And you walk in and let's say there's 30 agents there. You're in competition with all 30 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to have to find someone that's very, very giving of their time to sit down with you and show you everything that you need to know. I was lucky. I had somebody that actually did that for me, and she was super helpful. But I remember the first time I looked at the mandatory licensee document and my head was spinning like I had never seen the document before, and that's a shocking thing.
Right. And you think about it. All right. So if you're not out showing a client, if you're not in training, what are you doing with your time? And I think that's part of being like a new agent. You have to be, very structured. And what do you do? And you have to learn how to prospect. And sometimes it can't be that it's not that easy because a lot of times you're going to get rejected. So who do you go after? Okay.
That's the biggest question, I think, is you said it great, is I remember saying to that person that helped me, I said, who am I supposed to call?
Right.
I have no one to call. My database is zero.
Hmm. I remember when I first started, I mean, I wasn't from Andover. I really didn't know anybody in Andover. So what I used to do is try to take opportunities of every open house that I could possibly find. It was a little bit different. We had floor time when I first started, so that's when people would call in, and we could help them with things like that. But it's different. I would, if today's realtors, I would take advantage of the if they had a Zillow program, if they had leads coming in from Zillow. I think that's a huge opportunity for a new agent. I think that's definitely something that I would go into if I was an agent. The other
Yeah,
thing,
that's the thing is we used to pay for leads. I remember I talked to Kristen, who's the broker owner at Silver Key, and I this is when we were just regular realtors, and I had called her because I know she had done a nice business, and I said, and I didn't really know her. She was just super nice. I just said, where are you getting your leads from? She says, well, I get them, some past clients, friends, family, and I buy leads. I go, where are you buying these leads from? She says, Realtor.com and Zillow. I go, oh, okay. So I wrote that down, and then I called, at the time, I called Realtor.com and Zillow. And the programs they had, you won't believe the numbers. They were so cheap back then. It was $200 for Realtor.com for
mhm,
whatever, a couple zip codes.
yeah,
Same for Zillow, was $200. And I
mhm,
thought, I'm going to go bankrupt trying to get this to work. But when you put that on a credit card, it's all or nothing at that point.
right,
You know what I mean? It's sink or swim. But that's changed a lot. And now, teams like ours, we have that Zillow Flex program
right.
where you just get the leads. You don't have to pay for them up front. I
Mhm.
mean, there is a referral fee, of course, but it's on the back end.
Well, I think too, you're really good at, and I think you hold classes for the agents of different ways that they can get business on their own too. Because I think one of the things that we do offer is we do offer pretty high splits. You can really climb up the ladder pretty high with the systems that we have. So you can get a really good split with us if you generate your own business, especially. There's always a cost if you're going to pay for somebody else if they're generating the business. So I think that, and I think you hold some of the classes and teach the agents how to generate their own business. And I think that's a great thing. I think sometimes when you're in a brokerage, you may not want to share all those ideas together, whereas if you're a team, I think you're more open to sharing different ideas and helping people starting to create their own business.
Yeah, I think you're right. People are way more giving of their time,
Hmm.
knowing that you have that same collective goal,
Hmm.
that you're not really in competition. We're all competitive, but you're not thinking, well, that's my secret. I don't want to share that with them.
Right. So, and I think the other thing that we have, and again, every brokerage and team will say this too, is they'll say, we have admin support. So how I kind of equate it to people is, you see that girl at the front desk? How much work does she do for you? That's what the average admin support is if you're in a brokerage or if you're on certain teams. So I think that, we have extensive admin support. And I think when you're a new agent, between having the mentorship of other agents on the team that are, supportive of you and, you and I, and then also the admin to say, all right, you got that contract under agreement. All right, I need that right over here now. So let's walk through that. And we also have Rosie, okay, who's extremely knowledgeable. So she helps all the brand new agents kind of walk through everything. I mean, there's things that,
Yeah, she's our transaction coordinator, so she's got all the attorneys in her back pocket in a good way. She
mhm,
knows them all really well.
yeah,
She'll hammer the phones for things if we need smoke certificate inspections, final water reading, 6D certificates. She will email, call, text, whatever she needs to do. So she's just like she describes it. She's like an arm of the business. She just is an extension of us. Just to make sure nothing gets dropped.
yeah. So, I think too, I mean, they always say teams are a low split. I think that's one of the things they comment on a lot. And I guess all teams run differently, like brokerage was run differently. And I think that we try to give people the opportunity to climb up um, that split chain so they can get up really, 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 really high. But I also think one of the great things about teams is they kind of hold you accountable a little bit if you're a new agent. If you're an experienced agent, I mean, look, you already get a track record. You can keep track of yourself. Where I think if you're a brand new agent, you might kind of walk in the office and I'm like, okay, what am I doing today? I don't know anybody in town. You know, I
Mhm.
I don't have anybody to call. What do I do here? So, and I think that having some kind of guidance helps you have some accountability. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, and we all have so many different ideas, so it's good to share. And when we have fun with it too, we all push each other a little bit. Like
Mhm.
I'll wake up and I'll get a text. I'm looking at my phone. It's like 5:30 in the morning, and one of the team members will have written something overnight. Says get to work. And we laugh at that stuff. You know what I mean? Like we have fun with that. And obviously they woke up in the middle of the night, had trouble sleeping, and thought it would be funny to write that. But we do. We all push each other, and we. I always say we try to focus on process
Mhm.
and, and not always the results. The results can drive you insane, and we all push each other to focus on process.
Yeah, and I think it's much more difficult to become a new agent now than it was when I first started. When I first started, I mean, you had to figure out how to write a contract.
Hmm.
Okay, you had to figure out that. You had open house opportunities. You had floor time. That was really it. Zillow, believe it or not, didn't even exist when I first started. Okay, but I think now it's more difficult for an agent because not only are they learning how to write a contract up, they're learning all this technology at the same time. And the market is very, very different. When I started, the market was very competitive, but not like it is now. I never remember ever crossing out a home inspection. You can't do that now because the laws changed October 15th, but I never remember crossing out a home inspection. I never remember escalation clauses back in 1998. I never remember crossing out financing, even though you were going for financing. So I think these skills we kind of teach our agents along the way in our training program. And I just think it's more difficult to become a brand new agent right now. And what is the success rate of an agent?
Success rate, I think, is 11%.
Right. The
Yeah,
first year. So they just, you can tell that it's very difficult to become a real estate agent. And I've even had some of my students say to me, I have more respect for real estate agents than I've ever had before going through this course and trying to become a real estate agent. They
yeah.
realize it's,
Glorified on all the TV shows and it's a great profession, but it's tough. You got to be mentally tough between the ears
Mhm.
of some of the things we deal with.
So let's talk a little bit about differences in, so when somebody comes out and they've got their license for the first time, I really think hiring the right team or brokerage is extremely important, because I think if you go in the wrong direction, and what a lot of times what they'll do is they'll like hang this big split over this agent. And if they really do the math, they'll realize, zero, even if they gave you 100%, 0 times 100% is still zero. So let's talk a little bit about the differences between teams, brokerages, and how things operate a little bit.
Yeah. So I think, like we said a little bit earlier, as the brokerage, you're going to come in as a single agent and be in competition with everybody in the office, and that's a daunting task to go in that route. In 2010, when I started, they really didn't have teams, and if they did, I wasn't aware of them. At least at the office I had, there was no real teams, and so I was already on a low split as a single agent anyway. I mean, it was different back then, but you're right. Now they seem to be higher. But I think that it's the team support, the coaching that you can get, the leads that you can get, the systems that you can get, the collective team numbers. So when you go out on a listing appointment, you can't look at them and seller and say, I've sold 0 homes, but you can collect, say, our team has sold this, our team has done this. So I think leveraging a team brand is super helpful. And I just think you get off the ground quicker. I mean, was it last year? Yeah, last year, I think NAR reported 73% of agents across the country sold 0 houses.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, that is scary. And I wonder how many of those agents are solo. I would bet the majority.
Yeah, or and we're not really into this too much. Is people that are part time that really they do this as a hobby. We're looking for people that are more. This is a career. We're looking for those type of agents. We don't hire everyone. Where I think if you walk into a brokerage, most brokerages they would hire really anybody because they really don't have a lot invested in you and they don't have a lot to lose. But brokerages are also different too how they run. Teams are different how they run. You know, I think we're very much into individuality. It's not like we don't have like secret agents. Like you know the team members on our team. We want them to be known. We're just like an extension of William Raveis. So you have the William Raveis logo, Lucci Witte logo, and then you have the agent. So there's a lot of times it's about the team lead. It'll be the team lead's going to get the best leads that come into the team, and then the team members kind of get what's left over. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of brokerages run like that. Some brokerages are high on leads. They have these leads like spinning in like crazy. And what'll happen is the agent really has to stay more of a low split because that overhead is so high and they won't be able to rise up. And I
Mm-hmm.
think when you go into that type of frenzy too, I think what happens is you don't get the support you need, the training or the admin support. And I think that's
It's all big stuff. And I was talking to somebody today. Think about this, right? Because we take this, I don't say we take it for granted, but we forget sometimes. Let's just say there's 20 real estate portals, and there's more than that, obviously, but let's just say there's 20. Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, Trulia, all those, right? Just to update those, like let's say you're actively selling homes, you could spend tens of hours just updating your internet presence. And our admin staff goes in for our team and updates that fairly consistently. Just that alone is worth its weight in gold. But, never mind the paperwork and the MLS import and the floor plans and the showing time, all the other stuff they do. They do a lot. That stuff, because I was a solo agent years ago, as I said, that stuff is so tedious.
Mhm.
And the admin, that's what they do. That's their job. They're happy to do it. But that you could just get drowned in trying to keep up with the internet.
And think about that. You have to change that every single year at least. And when I've been calling agents in January, they're like, "Oh, I'm so bogged down trying to, update all these different sites this year." And I'm like, "Why are you doing that? Why aren't you prospecting? Why?" And I think sometimes some agents don't even know they should be doing that. They should be updating that, which is even scarier. So, you can't find them on some of the major portals,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah,
know?
we've seen that. Like we've interviewed agents and we do look agents up to do a little research on them and see what they're interested in, things of that nature. But we go to Zillow and we can't find the profile. That's
Mhm.
a problem. Even
Yeah,
if they're doing a nice business, they could be losing another 25% because their internet presence is zero. So imagine if somebody said, hey, you should check out this company, and you go to check out the company and they have no internet presence. You would never call them. You'd be afraid to call them, even
right,
if you love your friend's recommendation. You
right.
have to have that, the authority on the internet.
Yeah, so I think when a new agent comes out and has their license, some of the things they really need to ask when they're walking into all these different teams of brokerages, okay? What do you have for lead gen? Show me what you have. And I think also they really should consider working with a team or brokerage that helps them get their own business. Because if you don't, you're going to be relying on that team or brokerage for the rest of your life. And you don't want to be you want to be more, you want a little bit of both. I think that's a happy medium.
Yep.
What do you have for training? Show me what that looks like. I mean, we can show you a 2.5 to 3 month curriculum on the buy side and the sell side. You don't even know when you walk out the door. Okay, you put an offer together when you get your license. What paperwork do you send the buyer? What paperwork do you send the listing agent so you don't look like a crazy person? Because I mean, let's face it, we've seen it. You're the listing agent, and you can tell when you get a brand new agent who hasn't been trained on the other end, and you're going to be like, this deal is going to be painful because they have no clue what to do. That's going to influence your decision looking at that offer. It may be.
Yeah, we're in competition and you're tied with somebody, and the lead docs all filled out wrong. And I'm not saying we never make mistakes, but I mean, it is wrong. And, the
Mhm.
pre-approval's not there. And,
Right.
and you're up against experienced agent that sends the offer package perfectly. You're going to
Mhm.
lose 100 out of 100 times.
Yeah, and I would also, I mean, like we have stats that we show people. This is, some of, this is what we've had come in as far as, business over the last few years. This is how much our agents have done. So we have pretty much black and white stats just shows, how much the agents do on the team, how much we actually kind of give them so they can see the support. And we have a list of admin support. So when they come in, we can show them the list that this is not the girl up the front desk just calling in the signs, taking calls. This is a list of everything that the admin will do for you so you can go out and sell and you can make more money. And you figure if you get a train, and we talk about this all the time because we're very spoiled that we have such a great admin staff. It's taken a long time. But you hire an admin that takes you out of production, then you got to start thinking about a payroll company. You have to start thinking about retirement plans. You start thinking about, unemployment, all these things with the state of Massachusetts. Okay. So that takes you away from things. But when you're a new agent, if you've made the right decision, and somebody takes care of that for you, and they have great admin staff and they'll show you how to generate your own leads, give you leads, and give you training, you've got pretty much everything you need. And the other thing is, I think we've got a good group of seasoned agents that are good to the younger agents and that will help them. There's a lot of open house opportunities. You got to have that available too.
Absolutely. So DM us if you have any questions. If you're looking to interview, or you just got licensed, or you're thinking of switching brokerages, we're always open to talk to people confidentially. Any questions. The team's not for everybody, but definitely reach out to us if you have questions. And then let's finish this up, Deb. Let me ask you a hard question, and I can go first if you want to process this a little bit, because we thought about it a little bit earlier, so I'm a little ahead of this. Can you give us something that you think was your biggest mistake when you started off, or even your first 5 years, and so that was the biggest mistake I made, and if I was doing this over, I would have fixed this or not fallen into that trap?
Oh boy.
I have one, so I'll let you think about that one.
Yeah.
So, and I had paid coaches for this. The biggest mistake I made is not hiring an admin. I was going to start a team, and all I did was start hiring agents. What a disaster. Okay. And if I had listened to the experts, I would have hired the admin first, the step one, and then started to recruit step two. I'll leave it at that. It didn't go well.
So I'm going to flip it a little bit. I'm going to tell you what I did right. I went with the right company, and I was lucky. I was just plain lucky. If I had gone to another company, I would not probably be where I am right now. So it was Prudential Howard Doherty, and luckily Prudential Howard Doherty sold to William Raveis, because Prudential Howard Doherty didn't do teams. William Raveis did teams. So that was one of the things I did right, was came to the right brokerages. Yeah, I was lucky on that.
You're a glass half full. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We will see you on the next one.